How does a tree access the internet? It logs in. Thank you. Tip your waitress. Try the veal. I'm here till Thursday. We were working on some upgrades for my Homelab where I was going from 4G to 5G, but I was not getting anywhere near the internet speeds that I was expecting, and it came down to 5G signal is a little bit more finicky than my 4G backup because it doesn't penetrate walls and things like that, so we have to play with the antenna positioning, and all of that didn't really work as well, so we're going to try installing an antenna outside to boost that signal and see what our results are like, and make sure you hit that like and subscribe button so that you can see more of my videos talking about IT and cybersecurity, especially as we get into more of my Homelab and tinkering and all sorts of things. But first, Codecrafters is an amazing platform for you to hone and improve your software development skills, allowing you to have challenges in all sorts of programming languages to build your own Redis server, build your own HTTP server, build your own interpreter, or, even build your own Git. You can basically remake a lot of popular projects out there running all sorts of languages. Just looking at this list here, they have Rust, Go, Python, C, C#, C++, Clojure, Crystal, Dart, Elixir, and the list goes on from there. So check out Codecrafters today in the link below and go and hone your software development skills. I know I'm going to be tinkering with them myself quite a bit. Today we're going to be talking about another network upgrade that we're going to be doing for my Homelab. So this is my rack over here that you've seen before in prior videos, especially on TikTok, and we'll get more into a lot of the stuff that's over here in another video, but today we're going to be focusing on the 5G internet upgrade that I installed last video. And the issue that I'm having is I was getting about 200 or so megabits per second down and about 30 up, which is a lot better than I had with the 4G backup that I had. But the issue that I had is as soon as I moved it over to this side of the house where the rack is, and I thought, hey, this external antenna should be enough to boost it, which it did. It, got it a little bit better of a signal, but I'm still only getting like 20 down. Was that I realized there's a lot more nuance and things to consider with a 5G internet connection versus 4G. 4G is far more forgiving to walls and everything like that. So what I'm going to be doing is repositioning the modem over to the other side of the wall, and then we have an additional antenna that we're going to be replacing, that we're going to be installing outside the house. So we're going to talk a little bit about this and how I'm going to install it. Some of this is maybe not as clean as I would hope it to be, but the idea is that it's going to be working. So I'm going to install a couple of shelves. There's going to be another UPS that we're going to install. Nothing fancy, just another UPS that I had lying around, just so that I have at least a little bit of backup power for the 5G modem. Should the internet go out, realistically, it's going to last about just as long as the big boy down here lasts for the entire home network rack. Because if that goes down, I'm pretty much screwed anyway. I can't use my desktops or anything. The idea is that I'm going to at least have anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes of uptime in a power down situation. I'm mostly just reinforcing against brownouts and certain situations where I just have a little power failure that I can withstand. So anyway, without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to install the shelves and then we'll get to showing that. I'm going to be drilling out to the outside, and we're going to get that antenna installed. Realistically, this shouldn't take all that much time, but you're, of course, going to want a drill. You're going to want a level for the shelves, because you don't want to install shelves just by eyeball. And, of course, your bits and everything that goes with that. And I've got some foam that we're going to reseal that cavity with, because I'm reusing an old dryer vent that I sealed up in the past to have an easy run, because it just happens to be right here. And then we're going to run the Ethernet cable over this opening over here, so that way nobody knocks into the cable, but we can at least reach into here. Realistically, 14-foot Ethernet cable should be fine, Cat 6 unshielded, because unfortunately, looking at the connectors here, I don't know why providers do this. It's an ungrounded connection. So we'll manage, we'll figure it out, we'll see where the signal goes from here. So let's get started. So before I install these shelves, here's a little home improvement tip. Most of these places give you these little plastic anchors here. These are annoying. So what I like to do is I get some of these self-drilling anchors over here. These are the metal ones. You can pick these up at Lowe's and Home Depot very inexpensively. I always keep these around the house. Very simple. Just drill it, or if you really want to, exercise your hands, hand screw it in, and then it's as simple as you take the screw in, and I've already marked the holes where they're going to go, and simple as that. Boom. No pre-drilling required. A lot easier. And these actually hold about 40 pounds per anchor as well. So we're going to put 4 of these in for each of the shelves. There's 2 different shelves that I'm going to be putting up. One for the UPS, one for the actual modem. And let's get to installing the actual shelves. I'm recording by myself, so obviously this is going to be a little hard to record and do this at the same time. So we'll come back with the shelves installed. Of course, we always measure twice and cut once. The bubble is more level than my mental health. That's a plus. So now, make sure we've got the distance right. Just enough distance for the cord, for the little basic UPS that I have. I'll get a better one eventually, but this is what I had laying around. And we're just making sure that it's off the ground because water, things like that. I generally like to keep my UPSs off the ground. You don't need to unless you are at ground level or below ground level, but that's something I would consider. As we can see, I have the second shelf up. No, they are not equal height to each other. That doesn't matter as much. I'm trying to get it as close as I can to where the egress is going to be for the antenna cable, so that way I can have as long as possible. This isn't meant to be the prettiest solution. It's meant to be more functional. That's why these aren't such fancy shelves or anything like that, but they are level, as we can tell. And I do have the cable length long enough so there's some slack going from the UPS over there, which may be off camera, but I also then brought down the foam that we're going to be using, some great stuff, window foam, picked up from the hardware store, and we have our Cat 6 Ethernet cable, about 14 feet, should be long enough, and then we have our drill bit so that we can actually have enough space for those wires to go through with the foam that I've already filled in to that laundry vent I'm going to be reusing. The laundry vent, as I said, is decommissioned. It's been sealed up, so we're just punching a hole through, reusing it because I think it's going to be the easiest way to run the cable through without creating too much of a mess. And like I said, this is all about being more functional. See it as well before from the angle, but we're talking about that laundry vent over there. Yes, I know there's a couple holes in the ceiling. There's been a lot of electrical rewiring and stuff like that, and I just haven't gotten around to patching it. But we're going to be drilling a hole through that laundry vent over there, if I can get my finger just right on the camera, and we're going to run the cable right through, and then we're going to mount it on the outside. When the positioning is correct to where I want it to be, we're going to then seal it up with foam, so those wires are going to stay in place, as well as I won't have to worry about insects and stuff like that possibly coming through that laundry vent. Before we get back outside, let's compare and contrast these 2 antennas and explain why I'm doing this. So this is the old antenna that I had bought, and it's a 4x4 MIMO antenna. It worked okay, but it was underwhelming in expectation compared to the 2x2 MIMO antenna that I had on the 4G before, which would get me about 5 bars. But 4G is a lot easier to penetrate walls and everything, because even when I flip that over to 4G mode, I'm getting a full 5 bars without any antenna. Whereas this is going to be running outside, and we're just going to be installing a bracket so that way it can stay outside with a 10-foot lead that we're going to be leading right through that laundry vent little hole, and then we're going to seal it up when we're done. So I've got a ladder. We're going to get this as high as possible with the best chance of a good signal, and then we're going to test the signal strength and everything out there and see what results we can get. So let's go outside, let's install that, and let's get cracking. As we can see, I am on a ladder right now, and it's good to know that my MSP and electrician skills still haven't gone to waste. We have the antenna mounted up top. Let's go check the signal, and I'm going to sit really still right now because there's a bee right by me. Don't know if I'm allergic. I've never been stung. Crisis is averted, and I've activated the external antenna again on the T-Mobile 5G modem, and I noticed that I've gone from 2 bars to at least 3 bars, so there has been some improvement. For the final test before I seal up the hole that I have made so that I could run the cables through. And before we were getting about 20 megabits per second download on the 5G hotspot over here with about 3 to 6 megabits per second upload, which was still better than the 4G modem I had before that I had upgraded from, but by no means anywhere what we were expecting of a 5G network upgrade. And so I did a little test, and remember, we were not doing so well with this antenna, which was still better than the internal antenna before, and now we're getting about 142 megabits download with 20.8 megabits upload off of the Wi-Fi connectivity direct to there on my iPhone. Now, I know if I connect an Ethernet cable, I'll get much better results, but I wanted to at least do a fair comparison to when I initially tested out the hotspot, where I was getting 200 and some odd megabits down when I initially set it up on another part of the house. So that goes to tell you that 5G is a little bit more finicky than 4G in terms of antenna positioning, as well as signal degradation and all other things. And of course, it definitely can't penetrate walls and definitely windows nearly as well as 4G can. So with the 5G network upgrade, or 5G on your phones, have that as a major consideration, that if you're inside a building, you may not get as well of a connection than you will outside, or of course if you have a booster femtocell inside of your house. A femtocell is something interesting, but not worthwhile for me to invest in. And at that point, I would literally just be creating a new cell network basically off of my LAN connection, off of my cable, which would kind of defeat the purpose of what this is for a redundant connection. So next up, let's seal up the hole here with this little foam. This is a nice little thing to know about for regular home improvement and everything, but I consider this an overall success, at least for my backup network. Now, just to fill up the hole, this great stuff, expanding foam. They've got several different lines. It's really great to fill any holes. Not sponsored, just general great home improvement tips. So the way it works is you just put it in there, and then it will go to fill up and expand over time, and then it cures over a day or so. So I'm going to go fill it in from the other side, but that's basically all there is to it. Happy hacking, everyone. Hope you had some knowledge dropped on you.